Do you wave your terrible towel when Renegade plays? Reach for a tasty cake when JJ shouts, "He scores!" Does the sound of an F1 engine make your heart race? Doing push-ups with the Nittany Lion after a TD? Then lend us an ear, and we will share the exhilaration of Steelers football, the excitement of Flyers hockey, the nail-biting finishes of F1, and the pride when we yell, "We are Penn State." Welcome to the SteelFlyers show, the strangest combination of sports fandom since pineapple was put on pizza. Welcome to the SteelFlyers All Sports Network special show for you folks. We got two very special guests because we're going to talk about a very special subject. That's right, we're going to get into the NHL playoffs and what we would like to see and what's probably going to happen. So we got two very special guests with us today, and how about that? E-Money. How about that? Dropping in, my man. How you doing?
I'm good. It feels good to be on spring break. And for those of you that aren't familiar with me, I have my own podcast called On the Money. You can find it on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, a bunch of different podcast type apps. But I just do my stuff through Anchor. And of course, I talk about hockey, and I'll talk about pro football, and I'll talk about UFC. So it's a little bit of a variety there, and I'm happy. Thank you for having me.
You got it, brother. You got it. So we'll be able to supply all the links for the shows there for E-Money and how you can find him and watch all his great content. So for sure. Hey, we got the pearls of wisdom. What up, buddy? How you doing, Pearlo?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Spending my days talking about hockey. That's right,
man. Kicking back in the Seattle apartment there, looking good.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Just got it freshly squeegeed yesterday.
There you go. Cool beans. All right. The reason why I have these two very special folks here with us today is because we were sitting down talking about the playoffs. That's right. We're talking about the NHL playoffs and the playoffs that are coming up here real soon. I mean, yeah, we got the trade deadline in a couple weeks, but the end of the season is going to be just around the corner here, and teams are about, on the average, 20 games away. Okay, but you're also starting to see teams separate themselves, where you're seeing the top three teams starting to separate from the bottom rest of their divisions. Okay, so we're going to talk about the playoff scenarios that we're going to see in those divisions, and then maybe what we would like to see, and then what we think is going to really probably happen. All right. So let's start off with everybody's favorite, and let's go with the Discovery Central. Hey, all right. That consists of Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina as the top three. Then you get Nashville, the drop-off of 10 points. Chicago, Columbus fighting for that fourth spot. Dallas and Detroit aren't even sniffing. Dallas could be because they have a lot of games in hand. All right, Evan, we're going to start with you, my man. What do you think about this Central Division here? What do you think is going to be – what playoff matchups would you like to see, and what do you think is going to happen?
All right. First off, I heard your dog bark, and I think your dog's getting excited for the playoffs, too.
Oh, yeah. the co-host is always ready and excited.
The hockey dog.
That's right.
All right, but for real, so it looks like the Lightning, the Panthers, who have been a big surprise this year, and the Hurricanes, it looks like they're all pretty much a shoo-in for the playoffs, barring some sort of chaotic slump. And then that fourth spot is either going to come down to the Predators, who I think a lot of people thought were going to be sellers at the deadline, but now it's like, okay, they might be buyers now. So they were kind of in that borderline territory. Blackhawks are right in there. Columbus is right in there a little bit. I'm not going to count Columbus out. Stars have kind of disappointed a little bit, and the Dead Wings are still a thing. So the playoff matchups that I see will happen. It would be really awesome. I mean, it more than likely won't happen unless it gets to the second round, but I really like to see the Panthers and the Blackhawks, because you would have Coach Q going up against his old team. And those two teams have also been kind of a surprise this year. A lot of people thought that the Blackhawks would be pretty bad this year, going through the rebuild. They've had some injuries prior to the start of the season. And then, of course, like I said, Panthers were a surprise. But it's looking like, and I think it'll be Panthers and Hurricanes in the first round to get it going. That would be a good matchup too. I guess the Lightning would beat either the Predators, Blackhawks, or the Jackets. I think I kind of think the Blackhawks will slip in there and take that spot. I think Kirby Dach just come back, or he's coming back real soon.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah,
and then Jonathan Toews will come back at some point, I'm sure, and try to get this team going. So I mean, I think it'll be Lightning, Blackhawks round 1, and it'd be very hard not to favor the Lightning, and then Panthers and Hurricanes would be there's so many good matchups. We could talk for hours about what we would like and everything. So Panthers and Hurricanes could be around 1. So I'm curious to see how the Central plays out and who gets that number 4 spot.
That's going to be the key. Pearlo, drop some wisdom on us here, buddy. What do you think about this Central here?
I think it doesn't get enough play. Yeah, people don't pay enough attention to this division. This division is absolutely fantastic. You're building some incredible rivalries here. Even Columbus, Florida, with the whole Bobrovsky thing and the different players and Zito going over to Florida. Yeah. Even that would be a cool series, just that alone. I doubt that Columbus is going to be able to come back, but I mean, they're only at 36, and we've seen Tortorella teams bounce back from anything, so you could see it happen. As far as Nashville, such an amazing story this year because of their turnaround and starting to move forward and change they're a great story that would be fun to watch. I personally would, at this point, I would really rather see Nashville make it than Chicago, simply because it's such a great story. Chicago came out and said they were rebuilding anyways, and they've really been only making it for the most part on the back of Lankinen. They've been outshot in a lot of their games.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's a great story too. Don't get me wrong. Lankinen is amazing. But I think I just feel that Nashville at this point deserves it a little more. So I'd like to see Nashville make it in. With all of that being said, I don't think you can do anything but hope for a Tampa Bay versus Florida rivalry. For that rivalry to have a spotlight on it, and for those two teams to get exposure like that, to me, that's what I'm looking for here. I really
Battle of Florida.
Battle of Florida.
Okay,
it's not going to lie to the public.
Right. That would be cool.
Getting those juices flowing for that rivalry, because it would be great, like two different systems too. Tampa Bay's running gun, the big stars, and Florida's this grinded out, gonna kick your butt type team,
more physical.
That was supposed to be there. I think that would be just a fantastic. But I mean, Carolina as well against anyone. Just that team is so fun to watch in itself.
See, now that's where I'm going.
You're going that way, so I'm going to let you go with that. But I would say Tampa Bay, Florida is what everybody would be looking at here.
Yeah, I have to go Carolina because I just want to see Brind'Amour. I want to see him do well. I want to see him take it to these teams. To be honest with you, the fact that he's only 1 point out, he does have 2 games in hand for Florida, 1 game in hand for Tampa Bay, and he's only 1 point back. He's only lost 8 games this year. I mean, come on. That's who I think is going to be the surprise. We also think Florida, big surprise as well for them being there. I agree. Drager has stepped up huge in Florida, and I would put Coach Q for the Jack Adams straight out of the gates.
Agreed.
There wouldn't even be a question. Just give it to him.
I don't know about that.
I agree.
Colleton and Chicago, I think.
Okay.
You got to go to Coach Q right now. I agree with
Chicago makes the playoffs, but straight up, I have to give it to Quinn Mill. But I would like to see Carolina knock off the Tampa Bays and knock off the Floridas. That's what I would like to see. Okay. If I could see that, that's what I would really like to see. What's probably going to happen is the Florida-Carolina series is going to be such a knockdown, drag-out series that the one who makes it at the end is not going to have anything left in the tank that's going to have to face Tampa Bay. Because it doesn't really matter. I don't think it doesn't really matter if Tampa Bay goes against Nashville, Chicago, Columbus, or even Dallas for that matter. They have proven that they can beat all those teams because Dallas has so many games in hand because they missed of all the COVID and everything like that. But still, there's no way. That's what I think is going to be the series right there, the Carolina and Florida. And if Carolina can win that series and come out and then do the same thing to Tampa Bay and or whomever, you know what I mean? Then that's what I would like to see for the Central.
Let's also not forget, too, that Tampa is doing great, and they haven't even had Kucherov at all this year. And I think he's supposed to come back right when the playoffs start. So that makes them even more dangerous.
Exactly what?
I don't know. Tampa has not impressed me so far in the regular season. But I think they've reached that point where the regular season, it's hard to get up for games a little bit. Once you start hitting playoffs like that and winning cups, teams quite often do that. They sort of sneak into the playoffs and then they turn it on. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but it seems to happen a lot.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, too, it's all about getting hot at the right time.
Yeah,
exactly. And those teams that were just talked about could be very well. I mean, all it takes is 5 games. Really, all it takes is 5 games because every game now is a 4-point swing. So you win 5 games, 4 games in a row. That's 8-10 points. Bang, you're right there. You know, that's what I mean. So, all right. So we're going to move on to the Honda West. The Honda West. I just couldn't resist that.
Yeah.
It's a SpongeBob episode.
Yes. Couldn't resist. This here, I think, is one of the most, I mean, aside from Vegas and Colorado, this is one of the most competitive because you go from 3 down, and aside from 8 and 7, it's pretty much it's a 5-horse race here for those final 2 spots, it seems like. So we'll start off with Pearlo on this one since we did Evan for the first one. Pearlo, what do you think about the Honda West division here? What do you think is going to happen with this division here in the playoffs?
I mean, first we're talking about what we like to see. Everybody wants to see Colorado Vegas. That's going to be a freaking amazing series. Incredible. That'll be one for the ages, maybe.
Yep.
Like, seriously.
It's already must-see TV already now.
Yep.
I watched Colorado last night against Arizona. I mean, that team is freaking insane. I cannot.
What was the final score of that game?
I don't know if I've seen such a
9?
9-3 or something, 8-3 or 9.
I think I said 6-1 on your show.
9-3. 9-3 on that one.
Yeah, Colorado's disgusting.
I don't know if Colorado can maintain this somehow. They might be the most dominant team I've seen, maybe even more than Tampa Bay was. Now that being said, Tampa Bay played everybody. They're playing against just these teams this year, so it's kind of hard to judge, since the only real threat for them is Vegas. Minnesota's sort of fallen off right now. I'd like to see them turn it around, but they're a little too small. I watched them last night against San Jose.
Yeah.
It's one thing, first, just on a side note, San Jose made sure their ice sucked last night. I know they did, to combat Minnesota's passing type game. And I know they worked. It worked. But besides that, I don't know if there's much more to talk about with this. I would love to see Los Angeles make it in, because that's the team that I'd want to root for, simply because of the way they play. They have so much heart that Los Angeles, Minnesota series might be all right, but Vegas, Colorado is what everybody's looking at here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, E-Money, why don't you break it down here, man? What do you think about the Honda West? What do you think is going to be, how it's going to be, where it's going to be, and why it's going to be?
Right. So like what Pearl was just saying there, everybody wants to see Avs and Golden Knights. That's a no-brainer. That's pretty much one of the very few things. I don't find this division as interesting as the other divisions, but that series would be so amazing. I would definitely have to sacrifice some sleep watching that and just sucking up and dealing with it the next day, because that would be just awesome. You have 2 powerhouses. Those are the only 2 teams in that division that are cup contenders, in my opinion. I think whoever wins that series could possibly go to the Cup for all we know. And that series more than likely would not happen until the second round. It's looking like at the moment we would get Golden Knights and Wild in the first round, which that could be interesting. The Wild have been a surprise team. They got a couple good guys right in there, a couple good young players. Blues are sitting at the 4 spot, but then you have the Coyotes, Kings, and Sharks a little bit behind them. Ducks are out of it. Their season's done.
Yeah.
I think the Blues will hang on to that 4 spot. And the reason why is because I just kind of trust them more than the other teams, and they've been a pretty solid team in recent years. Coyotes haven't really shown enough for me. Kings, maybe. I mean, Sharks, I don't really like their goaltending or their defense. So, to me, I would guess Avalanche, Blues, round 1. And, yeah, everybody just wants to see Avs and Golden Knights. I just wanted to happen already.
Yeah, right. Like, how soon can it happen already? You know, I think a lot of things are going to be depending on what happens here with the trade deadline. If some of these teams at that breakpoint level, that, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th level team, if they're going to be making any moves, if they're going to be buyers and sellers. So if LA, who has a lot of bloody money, suddenly decide they want to bring somebody in, that could definitely take them over the hump, and that could vault them past there. St. Louis been there, done that. They won the Cup 2 years ago. I really like St. Louis to try to hold on here. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries, and they're starting to get some of their players back.
Tarasenko just came back, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So that's going to be nothing but helpful to them. Colorado, I think, is the team to beat in the United States. Well, we all talk about Tampa Bay and everything like that, but you know, when you really look at it, you got to look at the meat and potatoes of it. And at a plus 47, they're still even, you know, 8 points ahead of Tampa Bay in their plus differential. That says a lot. Okay, that says a lot about their defense. That says a lot about their goaltending.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's going to be the key, and that's why I think I would even have to call Colorado my early favorite to win it.
I would agree with you. Steel, I think you make a lot of good points. They are definitely right up there in that higher echelon. And also, too, let's not forget, they started the season a little bit slow because they were dealing with some injuries. Grubauer, yeah, well, everybody's dealt with COVID, but the Avs have dealt with some injuries. And let's not forget, too, Grubauer is like right up there in the Vezina conversation. He's been on fire this year. And I'm just excited to see how things play out with that team.
That's kind of funny because both of these divisions each have Vezina level goalies in Tampa Bay and in Colorado. You know what I'm saying?
And
Vegas too. Okay, so that's the other thing too. So look, Vegas has just been built the right way, I think, from the beginning, and they are just perennial team, and that's just really cool. And I like seeing them there, and I agree they're a really good team and fun team to watch. But I just think Colorado, man, I don't know. That's where I'm going.
I just want to see Colorado and Vegas already.
Yeah.
All right. Us a gift.
I want to see Berube make it and get a shot. I don't think Arizona's going to last.
Nope.
I think Kings might potentially be sellers at the trade deadline. So that, who knows? So, all right.
They say they're not going to be. They say they're going to be more.
And they have so much cap space. You know what I mean?
They're going to be more on the buying side. But,
probably.
Okay. We'll talk about that trade deadline stuff.
Yeah, right. Which we've done ultimate shows for all of those trade deadlines. So check those out. We did trade deadline shows. Yeah, we did trade deadline shows for each of the divisions on what we thought each team was going to do. So check that out.
Yeah.
All right. The Mass Mutual East. Look, I went on record at the beginning of the season calling the Islanders to win the division, and boy, howdy, they're trying.
Wow.
Okay. So the Capitals were a bit of a surprise for me. So since we're flopping back and forth now, we're going to start with E-Money. Now, we know that the Caps are your team, and they are leading the division, and boy, they've looked really good this year.
Stuff in the room.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's my squad. Wow, I can't believe you said the Capitals were a surprise. I figured for sure they'd make the playoffs. The Capitals have been a regular season powerhouse for God knows how long. I guess since Ovi arrived, really. Yeah, that division was hard for me to call prior to the season started. I think we all knew that the Devils and the Sabres were going to be at the very bottom, kind of just completely being out of the picture. Sabres finally broke the losing streak against the Flyers last night. I know I'm adding a little bit of salt to the wound, but just saying what was going on there. So it's looking like for the East Division, which obviously I love that division with my team being there, and then you have some good rivalries in there too. It's looking like the Capitals, the Islanders, and the Penguins pretty much have solidified getting into the playoffs, like very, very close to just putting a stamp on that. And then that 4 spot is going to come down to the Bruins, the Flyers, and the Rangers. So I find that very interesting. Rangers have been playing well as of late. Flyers have been in a little bit of a slump. Flyers definitely got to make some moves at the deadline, trying to build up on their defense and everything, and hope Carter Hart comes back to what he was. He is 22 years old. I think he's 22. And I think he can get back into it, whether it's this year, next year. I still have faith that he's the goalie of the future for the Flyers team. Bruins are interesting too. They're like a really old team, but they still have a lot of good pieces. Pens and Flyers, obviously, I'd love to see that. I think that would be awesome. Those two teams definitely don't like each other at all. I mean, there's so many fun matchups. I mean, my Capitals versus the Rangers would be interesting too. The Rangers team is pretty fun to watch. They have a lot of good young guys, and in my opinion, Adam Fox is probably the most underrated defenseman in all of hockey. He just does a lot of the right things, and his offensive game is starting to pick up too. So I like that kid a lot. I think he's a solid player. But what I think is going to happen, I think Caps will win the division. The Capitals love winning divisions. They tend to do that every year. So I'm going to say the Caps finish out first. Then you get the Islanders and Penguins round 1, which that would be an interesting series. The Islanders swept the Penguins, I think it was 2 years ago. And then in terms of the 4 spot, it just all depends because Boston needs to add more to their goal scoring. Everybody knows about the top 9, or not the top 9. Everybody knows about the top line, but they need to just kind of get more depth just below that. And if they can do that, then they're a scary team. Of course, they have the goaltending. I might say Bruins hang on to that 4 spot, and Capitals and Bruins, that'd be a good first round series. And then hopefully at that point we could see Capitals Pens second round. Or actually, no, forget that. I want to see Capitals Islanders second round. I can't root for the Pens to win. I'd just feel dirty. Capitals and Islanders second round would be so dope. We could get our revenge from last year, going up against our old coach in Trotz. And it's great that we have an actual hockey coach because Reardon was just pure garbage. I really like what Peter has done with his team.
Yeah, we're both fans of Peter Laviolette. We thought that Peter Laviolette was gonna put.
He's the truth, man.
Yeah, we felt that he would put the Capitals over the hump as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Pearlo, break it down for me, man. Give me some wisdom on the Mass Mutual East here. What do you think is going to happen? What would you like to see? What's going to happen?
What I want to see is Chara playing against his old team, man. Come on.
Oh, yeah, true. That would be
Washington, Boston.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I would like that.
That's what I want to see, man. And I want to see Boston make it for that reason. That would be epic. That would be freaking epic. I love that. That's what I want to see on that division. However, that would mean my Philadelphia Flyers probably don't make it. So, yeah, that would not be good. But so with that in mind, I really personally want to see Philadelphia make it, and of course the Pittsburgh Philadelphia. I mean, that's the series, right? That's what you want to see. It's the rivalry. Besides that, I don't find the Pittsburgh Islanders all sexy. None of the other ones really.
But it's looking like that
like,
could happen in
I
round
still
one
would
now.
watch.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pearl. I don't find that all that sexy at all because these are not they're not the most exciting games to watch.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
But
No,
that could happen in the first round now.
Islanders and anybody. Islanders are boring to watch. Let's face it. I love Barry Trotz.
Okay, all right. So we know what you would like to see, and we know what's really going to happen. All right.
What's really going to happen?
What's really going to happen? Oh boy, I'll tell you what. I agree with you guys a lot on the reason why I thought that Washington was going to be a little bit suspect this year and had them on the verge of making it. I thought it was going to be Islanders, Boston, Philadelphia, and maybe Washington or potentially New York.
I had Washington in first.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had Washington. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I had Washington in there. I had Washington or Flyers in first, and then I had the Penguins and the Bruins in there.
Okay. So I think that what's going to end up happening here is the Bruins are going to make it because they have a couple of games in hand they missed because of their COVID protocols and everything like that.
Good point. Oh, yeah, 32.
Yeah. They have a couple of games in hand. They do have 41 points. I mean, if they continue to build on the wins and if they continue to play the teams like the New Jersey Devils and find a way to win and continue to play teams like Buffalo and find a way to win and play games like against the Rangers and find a way to win and play games against Philadelphia and find a way to win. Pittsburgh has a much easier road schedule-wise as far as their remaining schedule of the teams that they're playing. And so I think they're pretty much going to solidify themselves in that third spot, maybe supplant the Islanders. It all depends.
I think they'll take out the Islanders.
Yeah.
The Islanders tend
they're
to
tied in
the
points.
Islanders tend to tire.
Right. And so either way, I still think you're going to see a Pittsburgh Islanders first round a playoff between those teams. And quite honestly, I think it's more of an Islanders thing to lose than it is a Pittsburgh thing to win.
I don't know. That's hard to say, but Steel, let me say that I would disagree with you that the Penguins would have the easiest road. I think the Bruins actually would have the easiest road because when I was talking to Joe on here a couple of days ago, he mentioned that the Bruins didn't even play the Sabres yet at that point or barely played them. And I just looked at the Bruins schedule. They play the Sabres 6 more times.
Okay.
That's got to be like 4 to 6 free wins right there because the Sabres
Pittsburgh's almost the same, and they play New Jersey more.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said that. Right.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy how easy their second half of both of those guys are.
We looked back when there was like 24 games left of Pittsburgh. And of those 24 games, only 10 of those games were against teams like the Islanders or Boston or Washington or Philly. Most of all the rest of them were against the Rangers, the Devils, and the Sabres.
Yeah. And
so that's why I think Pittsburgh is either going to take over second place. Either way, I still think it's going to be a Pittsburgh Islanders first round. If Washington continues to win, then I too would also like to see that. I really don't think it's going to be in the cards for Philadelphia this year. If the Rangers can continue to build on what they've been doing, if they keep playing the Flyers and keep scoring 8-9 goals a game, hey, I guess I could make it far too if I scored that many goals. Gosh. I really don't think Philadelphia is going to be in it. Boston, I think we're looking at the team that's going to be there. So Boston and Philly, or Boston and Washington for the first round. All right, that's going to be pretty good to see that Chara match up against his old team. The Islanders are no joke.
No,
and they put it to Philadelphia last year and beat them, and they barely hung on to Tampa Bay. They played Tampa Bay very, very well, and they match up very, very well to the likes of Tampa Bay, okay, because of their defensive style and things of that nature. So don't discount that. Yeah. So, all right. Last one is the Scotia North. And this division has just been, huh? It's been a head scratcher since pretty much day one, at least as far as I'm concerned, because we saw some teams jump out of the gates and were like, wow, we never saw that. And then they were like firing coaches. Wait a minute. How does that happen? Okay. Pearlo, you are our resident Canuck.
Canadian, yeah.
No, you're not. You're not the resident Canuck. You're just the resident Canadian. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So hey, one day I had to ask him, what is a Canuck?
But we still call all Canadians Canucks.
All right.
Even though it is really supposed to be specifically for the native
correct
people. But we're still called
I'm sorry. And if I offended, I'm sorry.
No.
All right. So, but you are our resident Canadian. So break us down the Scotia North for us here, buddy.
Well, first of all, what we'd like to see, I mean, there's so many series everybody wants to see. Toronto, Montreal, of course, is a big rivalry. We won't see Edmonton, Calgary, because Calgary is not going to happen for them this year. No way, it's not going to happen.
I want Battle of Alberta bad.
Well, we've been watching it all year.
I didn't pick Calgary to make the playoffs, and I didn't even think they'd be even close to what they are now. So, but I want to see personally, and I know there's going to be a really good case for another one here, but I want to see Toronto, Winnipeg. I think that series would be absolutely insane because you have two different styles clashing. You got this deep Winnipeg team that plays all four lines going against the sexy Toronto Matthews and everybody like that type team with maybe a little bit of suspect defense. Both of them have kind of on paper suspect defense, and then this unbelievable Vezina caliber Hellebuyck. I don't know. It's just like they're two different styles, and not only that, the cities are two different polar opposites of each other. Winnipeg is this grassroots labor town, nothing sexy about it. You see the Winnipeg third, the reverse retros, and everybody said that's so bland and so, like that's Winnipeg.
And Toronto's like the Detroit Red Wings one.
and Toronto's like the exact opposites. It's glitz and glamour. It's the New York of Canada, okay. And they're going up against each other. I just love that whole idea of those two teams. I think it's going to be an absolute knockout, dragout type game. I still think Toronto's going to add some grit. I think it's going to make it even more interesting after the trade deadline because I think these are going to probably be maybe the two most active teams at the deadline that's going to change their teams. So add to their teams. I think that's just going to rock. But I know the next one, I'm going to save that for my friend E there because it'll be really interesting if we see it too. But okay, that would be my one, and that would be my one I want to see.
Okay, all right. How's that for a segue, man? So E-Money, break it down, buddy. Let me hear your North breakdown here. What you think? What you think is going to happen?
Well, before the season started, I think we all knew the Senators were going to finish rock bottom because they're just a terrible team and they still have a lot of work to do. They have a few good pieces. They're probably about 2 to 3 years away from being a reasonable hockey team. And I predicted the Leafs would win that division because the Leafs are a regular season team, and then the playoffs, they completely collapse. We see it happen every single year. They like to lose in round one. The series I'd like to see, and I actually think it will happen, Leafs and Canadians. That would be awesome. You have the history there. The Leafs are kind of a little different than the Canadians. The Canadians, from what I can tell, they're a little bit more built defensively. You have Carey Price, who has that reputation. The Leafs have all sorts of awesome offensive talent. Austin Matthews is one of the most fun players to watch, and he'll more than likely get the Rocket this year. Or I guess him or McDavid. So that'd be a cool series. I really wanted Battle of Alberta, but that's not going to happen, obviously. I didn't have the Flames making the playoffs. The Canucks disappointed me this year. I really thought they would be a playoff team because they have a lot of good young talent. So I think the Canadians hold that 4 spot. The Flames and Canucks miss out. The Senators have been done since the season began pretty much. It's really looking like we'll get Jets and Oilers in round 1. I think that'd be sweet too. Another really awesome series to watch would be Maple Leafs and Oilers, just because of the whole Matthews and McDavid.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have two of the most explosive players in the entire league. Both of them got drafted in the same year, McDavid being the first pick, Matthews being the second pick. McDavid, in my opinion, is the best player in the world. Matthews is the best goal-scoring center in the league. Both of them are just phenomenal players, but I don't trust the Leafs to get out of round 1. Yeah. I don't trust it. They have to prove it to me.
I'm with you.
That's pretty much my take with the Canadian division. I think that sounds cooler than the North, but yeah.
I agree. I think everybody would like to see the Battle of Alberta, but we've been watching it all year throughout the regular season, and it has not disappointed, not one little bit. It has been exactly what it should be and was touted to be. So at the beginning of the year, this is what my prediction for the North was. The Maple Leafs, the Oilers, the Canucks, the Canadiens, the Jets, the Flames, and the Senators. Okay? Yeah. So I only missed the Canucks because Winnipeg, we weren't really sure what was going to happen with Winnipeg because of their goalie situation, with bringing in Holtby, the whole 9 yards, how that thing was going to work out, whatever. And, well, it looks like it's working out pretty good. I'm in awe of the Oilers as far as their offensive prowess. I think that gives them more of a leg up, even on a more of a defensive type of team like Toronto or even Montreal. Because let's face it, if I can just outshoot you and outscore you, then it doesn't matter how good you play defense. I think with Montreal, with their coaching change and things of that nature, man, I had much higher hopes for Montreal. I had them just missing. I thought it was going to be the Canucks. I have them making it. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, I had them making it as the 4th seed. So I would like to see them maintain that. I would like to see that battle, Montreal and Toronto. I want to see that battle of playoffs because I think that's going to be a good marker for Toronto because of the way Montreal plays. They're more of a grinder team. They're not that high-flying offensive type team like Edmonton is. You know what I mean? And that's going to be more of a grinding game and a tougher series, I think, for Toronto. I would like to see that series. And then I think whoever wins that series, it moves on and then goes against either Edmonton or Vancouver or Winnipeg. And then, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I can't really tell you what's going to happen with Toronto because I too as well do not trust them in the playoffs. They've historically have made it and then can't make it out of the first round. They have shown weaknesses and cracks in the armor this year as well. They are 5-4-1 in the last 10. So even though they are leading their division, they're only leading by 3 points. And you know what I mean? So this is more of an open division, I think, than any of the other ones.
Yep.
Because these teams play each other, you know, that extra game more. So this is a much more open division, and these teams are a little closer. Plus the fact that Montreal has so many games in hand, and if they win all of those games that they have in hand, just say against any one of them, they're right there. That's 10 points on top of what they already have. That puts them right there, tied with Toronto. I mean, you know what I mean? So
right. And to add on to what you were saying, Steel. So prior to the beginning of the season, I thought any of those 6 teams, the top 6, of course, Senators not being there, could make the playoffs. So I had Leafs finishing first. I had the Jets in there because they have some good players in the offense, and Hellebuck is an amazing goaltender. So I couldn't count them out of it. I had Canucks in there and I had Canadiens in there, but I had Canadiens finishing 3rd or 4th and then just going on a run and making it to the Final Four. I like to call it the Final Four because it sounds cooler than the Cup semifinal. So I just kind of had that gut feeling.
Yeah.
And it could happen. It's still very possible.
Hey, they got 39 points. They're still 4 points ahead of Calgary, and anything could happen.
And like you were saying too, they have that grinding style. They have a good defense. I think they're pretty well balanced, and that grinding style translates more into the playoffs. Things get more physical, and in the third period and overtime, the refs love to hold their whistles and not really call much of anything.
I got Winnipeg winning that. Division.
Do you really?
That's possible.
Is that who you?
That's my pick.
Is that who you picked at the beginning? Is that who you picked at the beginning?
Oh God, no.
Okay.
I have Winnipeg.
Toronto's going to win it. They're a regular season.
I have Winnipeg coming out of the North in the playoffs. They are the best playoff team as far as I'm concerned right now. They are, especially when they add to their defense this year. Watching their games, they're the closest team that I can see right now, anyways, to give Colorado a run for their money. Like they are playing such. Their third and fourth lines are absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Appleton, Lowry, those kind of guys there. They're going to beat up on the Torontos. Like Edmonton played Winnipeg. I'm an Oilers fan. Forget about it. Winnipeg will destroy them.
I don't know, man. You can't count Edmonton out, though. McDavid and Draisaitl might make that.
I don't care. No. They'll destroy them. I won't even come close. They'll win in 5.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even be close. They'd have a harder time against Montreal.
All right. So one last thing, I'm going to ask you guys one last question here. Who do you think, after all the playoffs are all said and done, right? So who do you think's coming out of each division? One team. No. You only get to pick one team for each division. Okay? So you got your teams?
Yeah, I got them.
All right. E-Money, give me your team for the Central.
All right, so for the Central, oh man, I got to go with the Lightning. It's too hard to go against them, and also too, I want to throw one more thing in there real quick. I feel like our opinions could change within the next month, depending on the team gets hot, trade acquisition, and also too, I am a firm believer that the President's Trophy is a curse. So whoever wins that, I'm not picking them to win the cup because it just hasn't happened in almost 10 years, especially if my Capitals do it. Because the Capitals and President's Trophies, that doesn't correlate together very well. So as of right now in the Central, I got to pick Tampa. They're kicking butt, taking names, and they don't even have Kucherov yet. So I got to pick Tampa.
That's a key point. All right, Pearlo, break it down for me, buddy. Who's your team coming out of the Central?
Every time I always got to scream, get a goaltender for Carolina. I still don't think they have the. But I like Nedeljkovic, but he's just a kid. If they go out and get a Bernier or something like that, I'm going to say Carolina. If they go out and get a goaltender that can stop pucks on a very consistent basis, I'm going to say Carolina. I'm going to put my sleeper, as you like to call them, is I have a feeling Nashville is going to go huge at the trade deadline. And
as far as buyers?
Yes. I think they're going to be buyers all the heck, and they could surprise. But right now I'm going to go Carolina. I agree. It's hard to go against Tampa, but I think I'm just bitter. I'm just bitter because they've lost I've lost on my picks too much of them this year because they haven't been consistent. So forget it.
I think Carolina's a rock solid pick because my girlfriend and I and her dad, we did pools at the beginning of the year, and I had Carolina going, but she got to pick Tampa before I could. So I'm like, Carolina's a good pick. I think he can win with Mrazek. I don't think he's amazing, but I don't think he sucks either. He's in that mid-tier. But Carolina has a lot of good pieces on that.
Yeah. Okay. So their defense is much better, I think, and they can take that away and make the goalies look much better. So it doesn't – that just goes to show you – that the level of goaltending in Carolina is not even, and look at what's going on there. So that proves that their system and their defense is working really well there in Carolina.
Yeah,
I had
Jacob's
Carolina
been slept on.
Yeah, I had Carolina selected as a team coming out of the Central this year at the beginning, and quite honestly, I too am a little bit afraid of their goaltending, and I'm going to go with Florida Panthers.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
possible. It's going to be one of those three.
I was until Ekblad got hurt, and now.
Oh yeah, that's big.
But-
Yeah, that injury was ugly.
But
man. I feel so bad.
that opened up $7.8 million for them. So they are probably going to be a rental looker potentially at the trade deadline. So that's why I picked Florida.
It wouldn't surprise me. I want them to win it.
Yeah.
Also, too, let's not forget, if Florida can get Bobrovsky to go back to his Columbus Blue Jackets version, that's hard to beat.
All right. So now you see where I'm going there, E-Money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm just saying, if he can get back to that Columbus level,
yeah, buddy,
that's a very, very hard team to beat.
Okay,
Yeah,
so now
I agree. Yeah,
we're gonna go with the Honda West. Give me your team.
We're all gonna have the same thing.
Yeah.
We're similar.
Go ahead, E-Money. Go ahead. Give it to me.
Okay. I mean, let's just scratch out the other teams and just have a dogfight between the Avs and the Golden Knights. I think the winner, I kind of have that feeling right now that the winner of that series at least goes to the Cup. Both of these two teams have the right formulas to get there. I've been high on the Avs for the past few years. They're a good young team. They're deep on offense. They're deep on defense. The goaltending's there. I also picked them in my pool, so I'm going to have to say the Avalanche would be in that Final Four spot.
There you go. All right. Pearlo, who do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if Fleury goes on one of his rampages in the playoffs, which he can do.
That's true.
That would be what would change it. But honestly, he's already looking like he's slowing down a little bit. He's so old now, and they're using him. They're using him way more than they wanted to because Lehner's been injured. So and I just haven't seen a team crush like this since Tampa Bay back when they won broke records there in the regular season that time. But I got to go with Colorado.
Okay, I'm going with the Anaheim Duck. No, I'm just kidding.
I'd be like, you're right there.
I would really like to see Minnesota. I would really like to see Minnesota do it, but gotta call the Avalanche on this one. All right.
Yeah.
The East.
Yay.
All right. E-Money, I think we already know who you're gonna pick.
It's hard not to. I mean, it's a little biased. I'll admit to it, but I got to.
Yeah, but you have good reason to though, because they are playing really well.
Yep.
Every time Ovechkin steps out on the ice and scores a goal, it's a record. I mean, Laviolette has definitely wrangled that team perfectly. Yep. I know the how well Laviolette wrangles teams. He was a great coach for the Flyers for a number of years. So
he's got the resume, man. He's been the 3 cups with 3 different teams.
He's won one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
He won one with
Carolina.
Yep. Back in the day. Yep.
First one.
So
yep.
I think he'll be hungry for another one. And also too, like our window is like starting to close a little bit. We're the oldest team.
It's starting to close.
We're the oldest team in the league, but we're young at goaltender. So it's not too bad. Samsonov and Vitek have been like a 1A, 1B. I don't really think we should do much of anything at the deadline because we're very thin at the cap. We got to re-sign Ovi after this year, and we have to re-sign Vrana after this year, and I don't want those two going anywhere. Right. Okay. So the Capitals, for me, the defense has gotten better as the year has progressed. Obviously, the offense is always going to be there with Ovi, Backstrom, Vrana, Oshie, etc. We have just about it all. We have the physical play. We're not the fastest team. I think sometimes the faster teams give us problems, but we have the physicality with Ovi and Tom Wilson. I got us coming out of the East. I got the Caps. So
all right, Pearlo. What do you think, man? The East?
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with Washington too, but these Pittsburgh Penguins are driving me freaking crazy this year. Like there is no reason why this team should be doing as well as they are. They've had injuries, they lost players. They got two of the worst defensemen that played on a regular shift last year in Ceci and Matthews. They added those to their defense, and they're playing fantastic. Okay, Sullivan, maybe you got to give him some consideration as
That's true.
Here, because
I would have given him last year.
This team should not be here. It should not be here. And that's what's scaring me about this team is how much further are they going to go where you don't think they can go this year, the way they've been going. I have a feeling they could freaking do it. There's one thing about Washington. I love Washington as a team, but there's something like a desire part of Washington that seems to lack sometimes, that Barry Trotz seemed to fill that hole when he was there, and we haven't seen since. Maybe Labby can fill it, and they do it here, but I would not be surprised if Pittsburgh took Washington this year. The Islanders last year did that Varlamov had some time to rest, and Varlamov pooches. He does not have stamina for a goaltender, and I think the Islanders are going to fade down the stretch and then not be able to do it. I have a feeling. I'm going to say, just because he picked Washington, I'm going to say Pittsburgh, even though it kind of makes me sick to my stomach a little bit.
No,
I think I threw up a little bit in my mouth there when you said that too. Hey, let me say this about Pittsburgh: they put Malkin on the IR. Food for thought: the best goalie tandem in March, Yari and DeSmith.
Yeah.
Now
it doesn't make sense, but
right. And Yari just left the game the other day in the first period with an upper body injury, so they might be putting him on the injuries. Who knows?
Well, DeSmith has been playing well. Honestly, on paper, Washington with Samsonov should win this.
And I mean, also too, you have to think about the history between the two teams. The Capitals have only defeated the Penguins in the playoffs twice out of 10 or 11 times. So you have to think about that too a little bit, but I just have a very good feeling with Washington. We have a guy who knows how to coach, and I think he can get that team to the next level.
If I had to put some money on it or something, I would take Washington for sure.
Okay, I'm still holding out hope for the Islanders. I think their style of play, I think they're going to come around. Just when I think I can count them out, they win.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, and they have that physical style of play that you need to win the cup. They were right there with Tampa Bay last year. They destroyed the Flyers. Until I see anybody knock them off the top, that's who I'm picking to come out of the East. All right. Last one, the North, and we'll go to our resident Canadian for that one first. What do you think?
I already said. I think Winnipeg is the play here. I
think so.
Yeah, Toronto's going to be tough in a sense, but I'm projecting what is added at the deadline with this as well. Yeah. And if Winnipeg adds a top four defenseman to that team, from top to bottom and on goal, there's nobody deeper. And we know how depth is in the playoffs, right? I love the Toronto Maple Leafs top guys. Matthews can almost win by himself. He's probably the best shooter in the game right now. He's killer. And they did get some veterans to help out, in the playoffs, and Thornton and stuff like that. And there's going to be a lot to play for in that regard. But I just see a Winnipeg team that reminds me a lot of Colorado right now in the way that they approach the game, their aggressiveness. They just beat you down.
Yeah.
They beat you down, and that's what you need in the playoffs.
Yep.
So I think I'm going with Winnipeg to win here.
Okay. All right, E-Money, who do you think here coming out of the North?
This is going to be a little bit of a surprise in a way, but maybe not. But I got the Canadians doing it. Reason being is I feel like in the playoffs there's always those one or two teams that just make a surprise run, and the Canadians also too pretty much have no shot at winning the President's Trophy, so they won't have to deal with the burden of that curse. They have the goaltender in Price there. They have some good offensive guys. They got a hard-nosed defense. I'm going to pick the Canadians. I also had them in my pool too, so I've been pretty much high on them throughout the year. I think they'll go that far.
I agree with you. I liked the Canadians to at least make the playoffs, but I believe Kotkaniemi got suspended for 10 games or something now. Or
what? He did?
I think I saw something like that where he's suspended or something. I can't remember if that was true or not, but I know he was injured or something like that. So I do like Montreal coming out of the North, but unfortunately, I'm going to pick Edmonton. I'm picking your team, buddy. Okay, I'm picking your team to come out. You know why I'm picking your team? Because I think that their offense is just too much for anybody, really. And every game that I watch of Edmonton, and I watch them just blow past teams. You know, I mean, like, I know our buddy Peyton on the radio loves to do the same thing that E-Money does with all of his hot takes on what's going on with Edmonton. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, I really like what Edmonton's doing this year. I do like Winnipeg. I do think they are surprising me because I did not have them making it. So I'm going with Edmonton. So that's what I think. Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Man, we put together a pretty good show here. I think we got some good insight. We got some good opinions, and we got some good things for everybody to sit around the water cooler and talk about and argue about and comment on and all that other fun stuff. So, E-Money, thank you very much for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. It's been fun. It's been a blast. And so, where's your podcast now? Where can we get your podcast, and what's it called?
It's called On the Money. You can get it on Anchor, Spotify, Apple. It's pretty much kind of like all over the place, but I just make my stuff through Anchor. So
awesome. We'll have a link for you down there in the description so we can get to E-Money stuff. Pearlo, man, how can we get a hold of you? Where can we get all your great stuff?
Well, you can watch me in an hour. What time it is right now? An hour and a half, 2 hours, and my show. The Pearlo's NHL, or the Pearlo Wisdom Show, NHL show, 3 to 5, 5 days a week, and we do a fun little thing where we pick winners and who's going to win and scores and stuff like that, and talk about everything that there is to talk about hockey. We do trades and talk like we're doing right now, and we do it in a group of people that whoever comes on, it's interactive. I talk to everybody. We have guests on. We had Peyton on the radio.
Yeah, that was great yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going solo today, I think. But sometimes we have John from Off the Wall, the SteelFlyers crew. Maybe E-Money might get on there. We have all different types of guests on there, and it's so much fun.
There will be frolic.
There will be.
There will be frolic. Yeah, man. Yes. Well, you can check out all of NHL Pearlo Wisdom stuff on the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. You can check out his page and get all his contact information and everything right there. You can follow me, SteelFlyers, at SteelFlyers52 on Twitter. You can check me out on the web at www.steelflyers.com and be looking for a website upgrade and be looking for some new sponsors coming here real soon. So be checking that out. Thank you all very much for joining us. Just remember, folks, stay strong, stay safe, and hang tough.